What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the C2 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Cole, with my co-host here, Carter. We've been off for a little while. We've had some vacations. We've had some Christmas festivities, but we're here back and ready for 2023. So we got a lot on table today. We're going to pull up a little agenda here. We're going to talk a little college football playoff. We're going to talk a little NFL playoff picture. We're going to talk about LeBron's birthday bash. The big man turned 38.
LeCap had a big night last night.
And some Luka magic this week, putting up 60, 20, and 10. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some college hoops. So we got a fun-filled day for y'all. We got a lot to talk about in this episode, and we're really pumped to get back to it. So first, we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start with a little college football, and we're going to discuss, first of all, the last night's game between Clemson and Tennessee. So, Carter, I'll go ahead and get your thoughts.
Yeah, as a Tennessee fan, that game was really fun to watch. I definitely think it was unexpected how well we played in that game. But I got to say, man, looking forward to next season, assuming Hendon Hooker goes to the NFL. Looking forward to, assuming Joe Milton stays with us. I think it's going to be a pretty fun year, man. He is quite the quarterback. He can really sling that thing. I don't know if any of you guys caught that, but they had a little side segment, and they had him throwing an orange at practice, and he slung that thing across the entire field and hit the brick wall at the back. It was like 120 yards in the air. Flick, that one last night to Squirrel White, he threw like 60 yards downfield, and he hardly even stepped into it. So,
flick of the wrist.
He was looking really good. I think he's got like 2 years of eligibility left. So, yeah, it was good to see Tennessee get that win, probably unexpected with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt out for that game. But what are your thoughts on that one, Cole?
Yeah, no, I agree. I honestly was expecting a little more from Clemson, especially after losing to South Carolina. I thought that they were going to come out.
Yeah, I thought Tennessee didn't have a shot.
I thought that Clemson was going to come out. I mean, they played pretty good in the ACC title game. I thought they were going to come out and have a big night. One thing I do want to mention is I don't think they got Will Shipley the ball enough. I think that Will Shipley is an absolute beast.
Yeah,
I think he's proven that over the course of the season. If he has touches, he gets yards, and I just think that they offensively put too much into Cade Klubnik. I mean, he's a true freshman, and you could tell last night he made a lot of mistakes.
Man, there were some times that I felt like it was justified where he would scramble out with a lot of pressure, but toward the end of the game there, man, he was getting in, just running to the sideline, and he wasn't even pressured that much. Like it was almost like he was just trying to default to what he was comfortable doing.
No, yeah, he would run 30, 20 yards backwards and try and, like, there was a pick at the end of the game, and it was just a heave. He jumped off 1 foot and threw it as far as he could. You could just tell the composure wasn't there.
Yeah.
And another mistake he had was at the end of the first half. They
running it.
They have enough time to get a field goal. All he has to do is throw the ball away, and instead he tries to run.
Dabo was pissed.
Oh, Dabo
he was pissed, man.
Yeah.
He was working up a sweat.
Dabo got into him. Yeah. So I think that Cade Klubnik's going to be really good, and he's shown signs of that this year. He's had a few games where he has played really well. ACC championship's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
But once again, he was a true freshman. I think he could make mistakes, and I think that he's got a lot of learning to do. But like I said, I wish Will Shipley got more touches. I think he's going to end up being really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had like 3 carries for 5 yards in the first half, and sometimes he gets that look in his eye where you're like, man, he wants to prove himself and he wants to go, and he didn't get that opportunity. He got fired up in the second half a little bit, but it was just a little bit too late. So, I definitely think unexpected Tennessee with a pretty big win there, but.
Yeah, I'm Will Shipley last night, 17 carries for 72 yards.
Pretty much all in the second half.
Cade Klubnik had 20 carries.
Wow.
He ran the ball 20 times for 51 yards.
He was definitely trying to
do a little too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so and then Cade Klubnik, no touchdowns, 320 yards passing, 2 interceptions, and then Joe Milton, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 251 yards.
He looked solid, man.
Yeah.
He looked really, really solid.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see if he stays with Tennessee moving forward, what he can do, especially with some more weapons around him. But
that'll be interesting to see what Tennessee does next year with the new guy coming in, the 5-star. I can only know how to pronounce his name, so I won't even try. But he's the Hawaiian guy is supposed to be really, really good. So it'll be interesting. I feel like you got to give the job to Joe Milton.
Yeah, he earned it.
Yeah.
I think he earned it. And, I mean, going back for a little history lesson, in case you didn't know this, he actually, a year ago, he did have the starting job ahead of Hendon Hooker. He got injured in the second game. Hendon got in, obviously proved himself and ran with it. So he did have the coach's respect early on in his career and just unfortunately got injured. So,
Well, good for that guy. I mean, to stay with it. A lot of guys, once they didn't win the starting job,
transfer portal, boom, they're out of there.
I mean, that's how it is nowadays. So good
Especially
for him.
Nowadays.
Yeah, good for him to stick with it and wait till his time comes. Which, I mean, on one of the biggest stages, the Orange Bowl came.
Yeah.
So.
Which, how cool is that? The Orange Bowl, 2 orange teams. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool sight to see all orange in the stands. That was pretty cool.
I kind of want to order a shirt from that game. That was pretty cool. Orange Bowl, 2 orange teams. Cool. It's something you don't see every day. Also, the last point before we move on here, BT Potter, man. Nothing to take away from this guy's career, but he had a horrible night, man. Yeah. I mean, they came out, ran the fake field goal. I think that might have rattled him a little bit. Like, do you guys not trust me? Missed 3 in a row after that. They went back with him. He did hit one.
So he went 2 for 5.
2 for 5.
Yeah.
So he did hit that one at the first one he made of the game, but he tried to miss it, man. I mean, it literally almost shanked. He almost pulled it again. So I mean, again, he's had a great career. He only missed 1 field goal coming into last night all season. So nothing to take away from him, but sometimes he's been known to have some of those horrible games where he kind of just blows up. And it's hard as a kicker. If you miss one, I feel like it rattles your confidence so much, and you're thinking about it too much, and you're not dialed in, and then you're bound to miss a few more. So
no, I agree. Well, that kind of wraps up last night's game, and now we can get into college football playoff.
Yeah, I think this is what everyone's looking forward to, man. Bowl season is good. You get a couple games right before the playoffs, like the one last night that you're interested in, but I think today is going to be the ones that people are really interested in watching and going to have the most viewers.
I agree. So first we'll go ahead and start with the 2-3 matchup, discuss some Michigan versus TCU. So go ahead with your initial thoughts.
Yeah, my initial thoughts, it's interesting, man. You don't really see this matchup too much. There's not like a ton of history and data behind this to see, like, try to predict what's going to happen in this game. My personal opinion, I've always been a power conference football guy, especially the SEC. I've always said that, those teams in those big power conferences are going to be always better than these, like, undefeated TCUs that sneak in here and there. So I think Michigan's going to handle it. The over-under in this game is 58, so that's pretty high for a college football game. Actually, both these games are pretty high over-under, so Vegas thinks there's going to be a lot of points scored. Michigan is 7.5-point favorites, which is pretty significant as of the latest DraftKings Sportsbook update, but I think Michigan's going to handle it. I think they're going to cover, too. I mean, we could see, I hate to throw a score out there because it's hard to predict it, but I think maybe like 34-17, something like that. I just think it's going to be too much for TCU to handle. They haven't really seen too many opponents that are of Michigan's caliber this season, so I think Michigan's going to get.
I'm going to go the other way here. I previously was with Michigan, and I thought so as well. It's hard to go with them with the performance they just had against Ohio State. Played really good. And I really do think they're going to have a good game. But I think TCU is going to sneak this one out. I think that Max Duggan is a great player, a quarterback who has a chip on his shoulder with the history dealing with TCU. I think that he's going to find a way to get it done. We saw in the Big 12 championship, even though they lost, how much it means to him. He has some kind of health problem, and he was playing through that.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think that he's going to find a way to get it done. I think TCU is going to be ready. I think losing in the Big 12 title game once again made it where they're like, we can't go out here and put out a dud. We can't come out here and
you got a little more fire under the flame, as you might say.
Exactly. So I think a lot of people are counting TCU out, and I think that's why I'm going to take them. Now, I could see it going very ugly in Michigan's favor.
Right.
I think it's either going to be a great game and TCU sneaks it out, or I could see it Michigan absolutely blowing it.
I could see that as well, yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting, but I am going to contradict you. I'll go TCU. Take the Horned Frogs.
That's good. We got to see both sides of it here.
So, I'm really interested to see how Max Duggan plays. TCU's rush game is normally pretty good, but Michigan's, that's all they love to do is hammer it down the throat of the defense. J.J. McCarthy, Michigan's quarterback, we'll see. Hopefully he plays good, but he's so inconsistent. We'll see. And then TCU's defense is another reason I like them. They have a pretty good defense. So we'll see. It should be
against the
interesting.
opponents they've played. To be fair,
Yes, that is
you know,
true. Yeah.
it's always the big debate.
The only thing is that I will say though is that the Big 12 is known for their offense. So
True.
to have
That
a
is
pretty
true.
good defense
That
and a
is
good
true.
offensive conference.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
That is a very fair point.
So we'll see. I think it's going to be a good game. I am excited to see, and I'm really glad the committee kept TCU at 3, even though they lost.
It was kind of shocking. I think a lot of people maybe expected Alabama to sneak in there or
Ohio State to move in above them.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was really glad that they kept TCU at 3. I mean, Ohio State didn't make the conference title game. It was Michigan versus Purdue. Right. So there's no reason that they should be awarded for not playing in a conference title game. Right. And there's no reason that TCU should be diminished for losing a title game. They didn't have, I mean, they could have just said, we're not going to play.
Right.
So I think that the committee did a great job. I'm glad, well, I was going to say I'm glad that Bama didn't get in, but at the same time, I feel like Bama almost has to be in.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It really is interesting. The whole dynamic of it. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on the playoff picture now that we got into that?
I mean, the real question here is I think South Carolina really just messed this whole thing up, man. I mean, they come in and they beat Tennessee, which Tennessee was going to be a lock. All they have to do is win that game, and then they got Vandy left with that. I mean, they're going to win that game 100 out of 100 times. And then they beat Clemson. So, I mean, South Carolina really screwed this all up. It's hard to say if they got it right or not. In my opinion, and we'll get on to this next game here, I think both these games are kind of going to get a little bit out of hand, which would indicate that they didn't get it right. But it's always that question this time of year. It's like, do you take the undefeated TCU? Do you take this undefeated team that hasn't had the great schedule? Or do you let a 1 or 2 loss big power team that played a hard schedule get in? And that's always been the debate, which is why they're moving to the expanded playoffs.
Yeah, and then again, in the playoffs, the college football playoffs, and I mean, yeah, that's why they're moving to expansion. But in the playoffs, it's very rare that we see these first 2 games be good games. Yeah. In the past, it's all blowouts.
Historically, it has been that way.
I mean, very rarely have you had the good 4 teams. And then again, I mean, it could just be because Georgia's always dominant, Bama's always dominant.
There's always that one or 2 dominant teams, Clemson, Alabama in the past. Yeah. But,
so,
you know, the blowouts that historically have happened in the first round indicate that they are not getting the best. You know, whatever method they're using is not getting the best games, the best teams in there. But I've always felt like they need to have more teams in the playoff, which I'm glad that they're moving to this new format. What is it?
So the way they're doing it is they're doing all there's 6 automatic bids out of the 12. Right. So it's going to be 12 teams, 6 automatic bids. All the Power 5 conferences get an automatic bid, and then 1 non-Power 5 conference gets an automatic bid. So I don't really know how they're going to determine that non-Power 5 bid.
So there'll still be some controversy.
Yeah, which is good.
But how many teams are going to be?
There's going to be 12.
So there's going to be 12. So I think with 12
the first
teams,
4 get a bye.
I think with 12 teams, you're going to be able to find the best team in college football. And with that many more teams, you're going to be able to, you know, figure out who really is the best team. Yeah. There's still going to be probably controversy for the things that don't have like a very specific stipulation of how you get into automatics. But I think that there's going to be a lot less controversy because I feel like with 4 teams, they're just not enough with how many college football programs there are.
Yeah, I mean, because if you
how
think
many
about
variables
it, there's 32 NFL teams, and there's 14 that make the playoffs.
Yeah,
out of the 32.
Yeah.
Whereas college football, I mean, you got over. I think there's like 128 FBS teams.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than that. I don't know off the top of my head.
And to choose with all the variables of strength of schedule and the conference and how college football teams change throughout the year to try to choose 4 is just difficult. Which the argument is, you know, you limit the amount of games, you limit the amount of injuries. But I think all of us could see a few less games during the regular season against like the bad teams
to see Alabama play whoever they played week 12 like that.
They go play like East Tennessee Community College. We can go without that game to get an extra playoff game or 2 because I mean expanding to 12 teams only adds like 1 or 2 more games.
Yeah, I think it'll add 2 more to the season.
Only
for the people who make it.
Right, exactly. So I think generally college football fans are gonna like this new format. But anyway, get off my soapbox.
So, I mean, that leads us into our next one, Ohio State, Georgia. The over-under on that one, 62.5. Georgia 6-point favorites. This is the line provided by DraftKings Sportsbook. I don't know, your initial thoughts on that one?
This one, I'm going to go again, man. I think Georgia has looked really, really solid all year. I mean, you look at Tennessee's offense coming into that time that they played Georgia. They are averaging like 50 points a game. freaking 500 yards a game. I mean, it was crazy. And Georgia just figured out a way to shut them down. I mean, offensive, defensive, they look so solid this year. I think Georgia's going to hand it to Ohio State just the same way I think Michigan's going to hand it to TCU. I think they're going to cover the 6-point favorites easily. I think we definitely might hit the under on this game just with Georgia's defense.
Ohio State puts up some points, though.
They do, but so does Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's always hard to say. Again, you don't get these matchups very often between these two conferences. They wouldn't play each other during the regular season, but I think this game could definitely hit the under. I don't think it's going to be as quite high-flying as they think. I think Georgia's defense is going to play well. I think Georgia's going to handle them. The score might not indicate it, but I think if you watch this game, you're going to say Georgia's the better team and they're going to win.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. I think Georgia's going to win the national title altogether.
I couldn't agree more.
They're such a good team overall.
Not a hot take.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that anybody's surprised by that, but it's really hard to root against Georgia.
I think that Stetson Bennett has the experience. One of the oldest guys to ever play in college football.
You know, I saw the saying the other day, to go on this point, not to cut you off, but Stetson Bennett and Lamar are like the same age.
Yeah.
And Lamar's been in the NFL for like 3 or 4 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Like Lamar was winning the Heisman when Stetson Bennett. I mean, he's been in college forever.
Yeah.
Which COVID eligibility, this eligibility, that eligibility, red shirts, all that stuff. But.
So I think Georgia's gonna get it done. I just think they have too many weapons offensively. I think their defense is just way too strong. But I will say, just to throw it in there, Ohio State-Michigan national title game would be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool to see that rematch.
So if Ohio State were to get the upset, Michigan were to take care of TCU, that would be a pretty fun game to watch. But like I said, I think Georgia's too much, especially to see what Michigan did to Ohio State. And for me, I personally think Georgia's much stronger than Michigan.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
We'll see. But this
would be something. If TCU could upset Michigan and Georgia wins Ohio State, would this be the biggest blowout in national championship history? In my opinion, I could see Georgia beating TCU.
I could see Georgia beating TCU
a lot.
Yeah, me too.
So I guess we'll just see. But I mean, you take TCU, I take Michigan. We both take Georgia. Win the national championship. Yeah. Again, it doesn't seem like that hot of a topic. Besides, maybe you think TCU might hit the upset in kind of a low-scoring game.
Yeah,
but it's hard to root against Georgia.
Yeah, it is very hard.
So,
other than that, college football-wise, we are going to talk a little bit about
local
NC State Wolfpack.
Painful. It's painful.
It is so painful, man. I hate it for our defense. Our defense all year has been so good.
We're like the Broncos, man. We're like the Denver Broncos. There's some stat that's like if the Broncos could have held the opponents, or if the Broncos offense could have scored 18 or more points this year, they'd be like 10 and something. I feel like NC State's the same way.
Yeah, no,
our
agree.
Defense plays so good.
Yeah, so we lost in the Duke's Mayo Bowl to Maryland,
16-12. No touchdowns.
No touchdowns. For Maryland they had one,
right? But
for us, we had 4 field goals, and they had 3. So they got the job done. We did not. We are getting a new offensive coordinator. I hope that he comes in and gets the job done. Tim Beck, our old offensive coordinator, left to take the head coaching job at Coastal.
Which I think a lot of people wanted him out.
Yeah,
based on being in the student section during the games, I think a lot of people
at State wanted him out. So it was very interesting to see somebody come and get him.
Right.
It was kind of a surprise because a lot of people were thinking he was going to get fired.
Right. Exactly.
So it was very interesting to see somebody come and get him for a head coaching job. So we'll see how Coastal does. Maybe he'll surprise us, and maybe that offense down there will work. But State, it did not.
It did not. And to be fair, we were missing some key pieces. We were
our quarterbacks
our
aren't playing.
fourth string quarterback. So
yeah,
we definitely did.
That was the other thing. Ben
have
Finley
our
had a rough
team out
day.
there, but
yeah. So I mean, we'll see. The defensive guys, like I said, are so good. Drake Thomas, Peyton Wilson, Isaiah Moore. A lot of them are going to the NFL, so hopefully they do well there. I hope they get drafted. A lot of them deserve to get drafted. Drake especially, Peyton especially. So
great careers at NC State.
Yeah, seriously.
They were some of those guys that they stuck around for their entire career.
Same with Thayer.
They were big NC
the Thomas
State
brothers
guys.
were just awesome. So I'm excited to see Lex, their little brother, come in and play some quarterback. That'll be cool. But yeah, that's it. That's all we got for college football. We won't take too long talking about the Wolfpack because they're not too much to talk about. But so we'll go ahead and move on to some NFL. We got a little bit to talk about, including this week's game picks. and some award races since that is coming up.
Yeah, it's about that time where you start kind of thinking about those things.
Yeah.
We've seen a pretty decent sample size of games so far. So
yeah. So I guess we can do a little recap on the Cowboys-Titans game from Thursday night. Cowboys moved to 12-4. Titans moved to 7-9. Titans just quickly falling out of the playoffs.
Yeah, man.
They were up there, and now they've gone on a losing streak, and it's not looking too good, especially with the Derrick Henry injury.
Right. Which is he projected to miss the rest of the regular season?
I don't think so. I think he's supposed to be back because I think he was like questionable.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Announced it.
Yeah, I didn't even figure out he was going to be out of the game till a couple hours before game time. But
yeah. So, recap wise, I mean, Cowboys pretty much handled them. I think that I will say I was a little surprised that Zeke didn't have a bigger game than he did with Tony Pollard out.
Yeah, that was definitely a surprise. I mean, he got his touchdown, right?
Yeah.
It's 9 weeks in a row or whatever. He's
going
to get that touchdown.
That is a lock on PrizePicks every week, let me tell you.
If they leave it up, I think they're bold to keep putting that one up there. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of surprised as well, but it kind of goes to all the people who are Tony Pollard fans out there, and they're like, Tony Pollard should be getting more touches, and they're kind of upset that they're still in such a timeshare, and they're saying he should be going somewhere else. But I mean, clearly, he's the more explosive back.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see Zeke out there. I mean, just the stats show the stats, but I mean, just watching the game, it's kind of like he's good from the 1 yard line, but.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what
in my opinion, he goes out there and he just kind of runs in the middle.
I think he's turned more into like a power back, where what he used to be was that elusive back.
Right.
But I think
back at Ohio State.
Injuries and some things that have happened, I think he's turned more into that power back that you can feed it to on the 1 yard line.
And he's just getting older.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. He's been around for a while. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. It will be really interesting to see how the Cowboys end up this year. Could this be Cowboys' year?
Man, that's what they say every year.
So I mean, they're 12-4 though. They're not normally that good,
right?
Record-wise.
That is a fair point. But for all you Cowboys fans out there, everyone always says it's their year, and then come playoff time, something happens,
losing the first round.
So I don't know. I mean, on paper, they've got the talent, man. I mean, Dak Prescott on paper, although he's been shaky lately. I mean, he is a good quarterback. He's been known to have super big games. They got both those running backs, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Dalton Schultz, Micah Parsons on defense, Trayvon Diggs if you like interceptions. So I mean, they've got guys. So it's just going to be whether or not they can be clutch and they can pull out some playoff wins finally. But is it their year? Only time will tell. I could see it happening. I could see them making a good playoff run. I know people say that all the time, but I mean, could it really finally be their time? It might be. We'll see. But I will say I was a little bit surprised. Joshua Dobbs, he looked pretty good out there, man.
Yeah, he did.
He put up a fair amount of passing yards.
Better than Malik Willis has.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Willis has been putting
he's been struggling.
3 for 15 in the whole game.
Well, that's what when Malik Willis has been playing, they've been feeding the ball to Derrick Henry most of the game.
Right.
So.
Which I think the switch to Josh Dobbs was in direct correlation to Derrick Henry being out because they know that he can throw the ball more. They knew they were going to have to throw it with, Hilliard was out, Henry was out. You're not going to be able to run that much. So I think, he might be the more pass-efficient quarterback. So I think that switch was in direct correlation. We'll see what they do next week.
Yeah.
If Derrick Henry does come back, if they decide to stick with Dobbs or not. But
so, going out of that, we can go through this week's games, make some picks. We can go ahead and start Cardinals-Falcons. Who you got?
That is a tough call, man.
The battle of 4-11 and 5-10.
Yeah, that is a tough call. Do you know if Kyler Murray's going to be back this week?
No, he's out. He's done for the year.
Really?
Yeah, he tore his ACL.
That's right. That's right. He did tear his ACL.
Yeah. So I'm going
to go with the Falcons.
It's either Colt McCoy or it's who just played this last week? Trace McSorley.
Trace McSorley. Throw it on a dime.
I'm with you. I'm going Falcons. I think that the Cardinals are terrible. I feel bad for DeAndre Hopkins. I just think that he's in a bad situation. But
yeah, I think the Falcons going to have a pretty good run game. I think they're going to get a couple different running backs fired up. I think they're going to take care of the Cardinals. Yeah. Not going to be an exciting game, but
no. Bears Lions. Bears 3-12. Lions 7-8.
Divisional game.
I mean, the Lions need it.
The Lions need it.
They gotta win if they want to make the playoffs. If they lose it, they're out.
It's a must win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what they got the Bears, and then they finish off the season with the Packers, I believe,
Mhm.
in the final week. So two
That
divisional
Packers Lions
games.
game could be huge.
It could mean the playoffs
Yeah,
for both of those
yeah.
teams,
It's
assuming they
like the
both
it's
win
like
this
the
week.
Raiders Chargers game last year.
Yeah. So, man, that's a tough call. I think Justin Fields gonna have a big game, man. I think he's due for a big one, and especially versus a divisional opponent, I think he's gonna get the job done, and the Bears are gonna upset the Lions in this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I really want to go with that take as well. But after the Lions' terrible performance against the Panthers last week,
Man, they sold.
oh yeah,
They
big time.
sold it.
And I think that the Lions are going to come ready to go at home. I think that Jared Goff is gonna Jared Goff's gonna be ready to roll. So I'm going Lions. I think it'll be a good game. I do. So it'll be interesting. Next up, we got Jaguars Texans. Yeah,
Jags, baby. Trevor Lawrence, he's been on
Jags.
fire.
Yep.
There's no question in
T-Law.
my mind.
Yep, I agree.
I think he's going to take care of business. The Jags, I think they control their own fate at this point. If
Yeah,
they win
they
out,
do.
I believe they make the playoffs.
Mhm.
I could really, really see that happening. Trevor Lawrence is finally, with some good coaching, stepping into that role that he was expected, when he was drafted so high out of college, and he was so good in college.
Yeah.
And with Urban Meyer, it just didn't pan out. But I think he's finally, coming into his own. I think he's going to have another good week, and I think they're going to get it done.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going Jags as well. I think T-Law is going to play well. Texans are terrible. Next, got Broncos Chiefs in the Red Kingdom.
Easy again, Chiefs.
Yeah, Broncos. I mean, Russell Wilson got benched. That's all you need to say.
I mean, that team for what they wanted at the beginning of this year, what they wanted this team to be, it has been a dumpster fire.
Yeah. Which, I mean, they fired Nathaniel Hackett. So, I mean, that's a start.
Yeah.
I don't know. The GM's high on Russ. I mean, he already said we're keeping Russ. He had a rough year, but we're ready to get back to it next year. So,
well,
we'll see.
They might be ready next year, but for this year, they don't have a chance.
No,
I mean, the Chiefs are gonna they're gonna take care of business, even though the Broncos defense is good-ish. It's the only bright spot of that team, but Mahomes gonna have a day.
Yeah. Next up, Dolphins Patriots. Both teams battling to get in the playoffs.
The Dolphins probably didn't see themselves in this spot a few weeks ago. I mean, what have they?
They were towards the top of the division.
I think they've lost like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, or 4 out of the last 5, or something bad.
Yeah.
And with Tua and his concussion, I believe
Teddy Bridgewater will be
projected to not play this week.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't real quick on that on Tua. That guy needs to sit out the rest of the year.
Yeah,
he is going to get very injured, and I don't know enough to talk on it too much, but I mean,
no medical professionals. In this cabin here,
but I just believe that for his own safety, I think that it would be smart. And I mean, it's not like they got somebody.
No, they have a perfectly capable backup.
Exactly.
Teddy Bridgewater.
They have somebody who cannot play coming off the bench.
I mean,
Teddy B,
he had a great year last year with the Broncos, and he's proven he can be a good quarterback. Some Dolphins fan after this last game might honestly want him to play over Tua which, Tua threw 3 picks in the second half. A lot of them were after that scary hit that they think the concussion came on, which I don't know how he was allowed to stay in the game. They have these independent medical professionals watching. I don't know how they didn't catch it, because when I saw a video of it, after the game, I was like, it was again the same where he's like sitting there, rolls it, hits his head like that. Didn't mean to do that. But
we have another concussed man in the cabin.
But anyway, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is perfectly capable. I'm not too worried about the Dolphins having a lesser offense. I will say the Patriots defense is known to take away that top target. So looking at Tyreek Hill, I think he definitely could have kind of a down week. Patriots have been known to do that against D-Hop earlier this year. I mean, that's just always been Belichick's philosophy. Mm-hmm. So I think Waddle could have an elevated role. Tyreek could have not as good of a week. Might be low scoring. Yeah, but I might take the Patriots in this one, man.
Yep, I'm with you.
I think there's a lot of controversy around the Dolphins,
which I hate because I really want to go with Teddy B. Yeah, I like Teddy B a lot.
I do too.
And
I do too.
I really do want to go with him. But yeah, I agree. I think the Patriots.
I just think the coaching and the defense are going to be able to grind one out and get it done.
Somehow. I think, and I after last week, I think the Patriots are going to get on a roll. I think they're going to win their last 2. So we'll see. But
do you think the Dolphins are going to miss the playoffs? That would be crazy.
Let's see.
I'm still recording. I just want to make sure we're not like we can cut out a minute or two. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Or we can just leave it in. It's real. This is a real podcast. We don't fabricate anything.
I mean, well, it all really depends on this game. I mean, a lot of it depends on this game. If the Patriots win, they control their own destiny by winning the last week. Dolphins lose. But if the Dolphins win, I think they're in. So it all depends on this game, which, I mean, so, I mean, it once again depends on Teddy B. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. But, like I said, I'm going with the Patriots. So, therefore, I would say, I got the Dolphins missing. Yeah.
That would be one of the all-time chokes, I think.
Yeah.
Especially with the talent on that roster
and how they were their offensive star power. I mean,
but I guess we'll
find out. Next up, Colts Giants. I'm going Giants.
I'm going Giants all the way on this one too.
Not much to say about
I think if the Giants win, is it winning in at this point for the Giants?
I think so, because that'll put
after that win against the Commanders, and they have that tiebreaker against them.
I'm pretty sure they're in.
Giants, kind of similar situation with the Dolphins. Man, they started out the year hot, got on a little losing streak, but they rebounded with the Commanders win, and I think they're going to take care of the Colts.
Yeah.
And that could be a scary team in the playoffs. I don't know, man. I mean, I just have a sneaky feeling.
Saquon's always
he could always have some big game, and sometimes they just found ways to win this year. They would have a much better record if they didn't have these 60-yard field goals getting put up on them weekly. I mean, it's happened like 3 times this season that they could easily be a couple wins higher, be a pretty high seed. But
Saints Eagles. I don't know. I guess Hurts is playing. I don't know.
Even Hurts playing, Hurts not playing. I'm going with the Eagles.
Okay.
That's the thing. Like Hurts playing, not playing. Gardner Minshew again is a capable backup. I mean, he had a good career for when he was a starting quarterback. He is very capable. We saw it last week.
Yeah.
And even if not, I mean, they've just got such a good roster around him. He's got a great O-line, good running back, good wide receivers, good tight end, great defense. Like they're just dogs. And so, quarterback or not, I think they're still going to win.
Yeah, I agree.
And the Saints have just not looked too hot.
I agree. I got Eagles. Next up, hot take. I think it's the game of the week. Panthers-Bucks. It's a game. If the Panthers win out, they're in the playoffs,
that's absurd.
Crazy.
That is absurd.
Insane. But Steve Wilkes, new interim head coach, has got him on the right track. I think that he knows the NFL game much better than Matt Rule did. He's got a lot of experience in the NFL. And obviously, I mean, it's worked out. I mean, they had a great game last week against the Lions. So, game of the week, in my opinion, who you got?
Hot take alert, man. I'm taking the Panthers. I'm going to take the Panthers to win this game, man. I think with that new coach behind the wheel, and I think they've been looking pretty decent lately. Yeah. Just exploded against the Lions last week. The run game was crazy. They had like 200-some rush yards in the first half.
Yeah, I think it was like 270 in the first
I think you could do the same thing against the Bucs. I mean, the last time they played the Bucs, Deonta Foreman had a huge game. Mm-hmm. And, I just think the Bucs have looked horrible lately.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Tom Brady. He's got some off-the-field things that are going on this year and a ton of frustration in that locker room, I know.
Yeah.
But I just think it could be a ground and pound game. I think the Panthers are going to get it done, and they might make the playoffs, which sounds crazy, but I think it could happen.
No, I agree. I agree. I think that the Panthers are going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to win their last 2. I think it's going to be a great game, but I think the Panthers are going to find a way to pull it out. I think they've proven that they want it. I think that they have enough talent. Sam Darnold's playing pretty well.
Yeah, seriously. They might have found their quarterback roulette. They might have finally found the guy.
He's playing well enough to, I think, sneak it out. They've actually had him running the ball a lot, which I think is interesting. But he did that last year when, like, the first 5 games, he had, like, a rushing touchdown every game.
He was leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns for, like, 4 or 5 weeks last year.
So,
I forgot about that.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be a good game, but I can go in Panthers as well. Browns, Commanders. Commanders have got to win. Who you got in that one?
It's going to be a close game, I think, with this one. The Commanders are starting Carson Wentz this week, aren't they?
Yes.
I believe they're putting Heineke back on the bench, which I personally don't agree with. I think Heineke, he still has a pretty good record for, what he started for them, and he's found a way to win in the past, and I think a lot of the team rallies behind him. He unlocks Terry McLaurin a lot better than I think Carson Wentz does, which he's a huge part of that offense. I think he should be starting. And I think with Carson Wentz coming back, I don't think the players are a fan of that either. I mean, obviously, I'm not in that locker room. I'm not there every day, but I think a lot of those guys really would prefer Taylor Heineke to be the quarterback, but I think the Browns might pull up the upset.
I agree, and I will say that I wasn't so sure about the Carson Wentz putting him in as well, but I love Ron Rivera, and I think Ron Rivera is a great coach. So he
Panthers fan.
I just think he's a great coach. So I think he knows something that we don't. But I mean, it'll tell us when they play. So
yeah, time will tell.
Yeah.
I think the Browns might pull off.
No,
an upset,
I agree. I'm
and the
going
Commanders
Browns
lose.
as well.
I believe they're out of the playoffs. So
Yeah.
I think they could get eliminated this week.
Yeah. 49ers, Raiders, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey. They've been playing well. I am going to go 49ers.
I'm going to go with the Niners in this one as well. No explanation needed.
Yeah.
They're kind of the same as the Eagles that no matter who you got at the helm, I mean, they just got such dogs around them on the offensive and defensive side. I mean, their
defense is just
most people would say they're
so
the best
good.
defense in the league, rushing, passing. I mean, they've just been so good all year.
Yeah.
They traded and got Christian McCaffrey as if they didn't have enough star power already.
Yeah.
So I think the 49ers, no question, this one. Sad year for the Raiders, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they again, that's kind of like the Broncos coming in. I think people thought that division was really going to be special. Obviously, the Chiefs, Chargers, they both played decent.
Yeah.
But with the Broncos and Raiders, just for the expectations, horrible years after the people they acquired in the offseason.
Yeah. Next up, big game of two teams 7-8, Jets and Seahawks.
Jets and the Dolphins, man. You didn't think they were going to be here after a few weeks ago, but just a couple bad weeks in a row. Zach Wilson is just horrible for this Jets offense.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know what the game plan is this week if they're planning to put him back out there or not?
No, I think Mike White's playing. He got cleared.
Lastly, that's what I heard too. So I'm going to go with the Jets then. I think their offense is going to get fired back up again. This could be a pretty high-scoring game.
Yeah.
The Seahawks, Geno could be slinging it. Mike White could be slinging it. Garrett Wilson's probably going to have a big game. I think the Jets are probably going to pull it out in a high-scoring one, though, and keep their hopes alive.
Yeah, I'm going Seahawks. I think that the Jets' postseason hopes are done. I think that they've just fallen off the bandwagon too much. I think that, like you said, injuries have just hurt them, and I think that I think
Zach Wilson's hurt him, man. Gosh.
Yeah, I mean that
as a Garrett Wilson manager in fantasy, the rule is if Zach Wilson's playing, you bench him.
Yeah.
And if anybody else on the planet Earth is playing as quarterback, you start him. That's been the rule, and it's worked so far. He's either 30 points with any dude at quarterback, and Zach Wilson has just.
I mean, they're both the same way. They both got to win if they want to keep their playoff chances alive.
Right.
And I think that the Seahawks, I think Pete Carroll, coaching-wise, even though still have never agreed with throwing the ball on the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl, but I think coaching-wise, Pete Carroll will get it done. And yeah, I'm gonna go Seahawks. Next we got Vikings-Packers. Gonna be a great game.
Packers, man, they're my team. We're going to pull it out this week. Aaron Rodgers said, if you're playing meaningful games in January, man, that's all that you can ask for. And, with him at the helm, I wouldn't want anybody else. There's been a lot of controversy this year. People forget he's the back-to-back MVP, okay? And, he hasn't had his best season. He's had more turnovers than he has traditionally, a lot more picks, than 3 interceptions in the whole season like what we're used to seeing. But I think our team, we're got a lot of people back from injuries. We got a lot of confidence. We're on a good little run right now. We were sitting 4-8 a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And I think we control our own destiny. It's a divisional game. The Vikings beat us earlier in the season. You're not going to beat us twice.
Yeah.
I think the Packers are going to pull this one out. I think they're going to go skipping ahead a week. They're going to go beat the Lions. We're going to make the playoffs. Hopeful as a Packers fan, but I could really see it happening with how things have just completely 180 the last couple weeks.
Yeah. I think they're going to beat the Vikings as well. I think that the Vikings, I mean, as we all know, their point differential is just terrible for being 12-3.
With the Cowboys game and winning every game by 3, they cancel out, and it's like a 2-point differential for being, that record on the season.
So, I'm going Packers. We talked about it earlier. I went Lions, both going to be 8-8 going to the last game of the year in Lambeau. Going to be a great game. I think the Lions are going to ruin the Packers' hopes.
Oh, man, screw you.
We'll see. We'll see.
I would be so depressed to turn it around.
I mean, I think we'll see. I'm disappointed with Aaron Rodgers because now he's all of a sudden happy because they're winning again, but when they're losing, he's all pissed off and a little pity party. So I personally think Aaron Rodgers just needs to retire, get out of the league. I think that he's
Two starkly different takes here on the podcast.
I really have always, up until this year, I've liked Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not saying that I hate him or anything like that, but when you have all rookie receivers, you made the decision to stay. I mean, I think that's on him, and I think that he needs to suck it up and tough it out, and I think that he's done a bad job of that until they start winning, and now he's all of a sudden happy again.
I will agree on one point that I think being the veteran leader that you are on that team, he didn't handle it as well as he could have earlier in the season with, it's almost like a little kid, like being upset with the receivers. And
yeah.
I think there's certain players that you have to have confidence in them before they can have confidence in themselves. So like early in the year, that Christian Watson drop, I think he just like received a lot of hate for that, especially like, I don't know what happens at practice or whatever, but Aaron Rodgers gets on people's asses.
Yeah.
So, I think there's some players that you got to be a little more encouraging, but it's easy to say when we're winning now. And I think they've kind of repaired that relationship.
Yeah.
It's easy when players play better, but I agree. I don't think he handled it perfectly earlier in the year, but things have turned around, and it seems to be good spirits from the locker room now. So, that's just kind of the leader he is, though.
No,
he just expects a ton out of people, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it motivates players, but there's other certain personalities that you kind of need to be a little more uplifting rather than like, more militaristic, like expect a ton out of you, no room for error kind of stuff, which he could do with Devontae because he's really that good. But,
So yeah, I am going Packers. That last game is going to be a great game.
It's going to be a huge game.
Next up, we got Rams Chargers. Jay Herbie clinched the playoffs last week for us.
Finally, same deal with the injuries with the Chargers, man.
Yeah. We finally.
He was saying it earlier in the year as a Chargers fan, and he was right with these injuries. People are coming back. Herbert's getting his weapons back. They're looking a lot better.
I said it from the beginning. If you give Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams on the field at the same time, which is very rare.
Which we didn't get till week 12 or whatever. Like it was
a few weeks ago.
It was a long ways into the season.
It's very rare, but if that happens, Herbert is going to play like Herbert did last year, and he's going to play well. And we've seen that. Now, going to this game, what's your take on this game?
I think the Chargers are going to win it, man. There's kind of a lot of hype around the Rams right now still with, this a few weeks ago now, but when Baker came in on that Tuesday and played on that Thursday and won, that was pretty incredible. But and they did really give a whooping to the Broncos last week too, actually, now that I think about it. But I think the Chargers are a good team, man. They're deserving of being in the playoffs finally. It's about time with this roster. Yeah. And I think they're still going to take care of business, man. Yeah. They're a lot different than the Broncos. Yeah. I don't think, the Rams are going to be able to do the same thing as they did last week.
So as a Chargers fan, I'm going Chargers, but as an analyst, I'm going Rams.
Wow.
Strictly because we clinched the playoffs. We don't really have much to play for. We can't move up and get in front of the Chiefs by any means. We can't win enough to get into that divisional spot. So I personally just think that there's kind of that mindset in the locker room, like, hey, we're good.
Right.
And I think the Rams,
that can be dangerous. That can be a dangerous mindset.
And I think Baker's in the mindset of, man, I'm playing good. I want to keep playing good.
So he can
keep
on
a job
next year. Yeah.
So as a fan, I'm going Chargers all day, every day. But when you really look into the depths of it,
with no bias,
I'm going to go Rams. So
it's a hot take.
Yeah. So next up, Steelers-Ravens. This is a big game for the Steelers. LA. Ravens have clinched, but for the Steelers, it's a huge game. Who you got?
This division, man, it could be a pretty low scoring game. I can't imagine this game hitting 40, 45 points. I think it's going to be, the AFC North is known for their battle games and, their fights and stuff they get into because they're just some dogs up there. So, it's tough to say, honestly. I think the Ravens are going to be able to pull it out, though. I'm sure that they're the favorites. I think they're going to get it done. Overall, I believe that they're a better team.
I agree, but I'm going to go Steelers. I think that the Steelers are going to make the playoff picture interesting. I think it's going to become a battle. There's only one spot left in the AFC. So you got on that side battling for that spot, you got the Jags, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Steelers. And I think that Patriots and the Jets.
Wow.
Patriots.
That's all for one spot.
Yeah, all for one spot.
Wow.
So
that's insane.
And we already discussed how we think the Jags are going to win, move to 8-8. I'm sorry, I take that back because the Jags could win their division. So that spot, never mind.
Right.
So there's technically two spots, technically.
Right.
So
because they could end up taking the division over the Titans.
Yes, which most likely will happen this week.
And if the Titans did,
if the Jags win this week, they're in.
Right, and the Titans would be out of the playoff picture at that point.
So so technically the Jazz can move in, and then it would be those 4 teams for that one spot.
Right.
So you got Dolphins, Patriots, Jets, Steelers.
Right.
Which Jets, as we talked about, that they control their own destiny. Patriots, same way. So yeah, I think the Steelers are going to make it interesting. Also, I think the Steelers are going to get it done. Once again, the same kind of thing goes with the Ravens. I believe with the Chargers, they just don't have much to play for.
Right.
So I think it'll be interesting. Now, I take that back because the Ravens could win the division over the Bengals if the Bengals were to lose out.
Which is probably unlikely.
Yeah, which is unlikely, but they play the Bills this week.
Right, mathematically, if there is something to play for, then...
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go Steelers. Last game, Monday night game, I think could be the game of the year, Bills-Bengals.
Wow.
Yeah.
That could be an insane game, man. There's two just insane teams. I think as of late, the Bengals are starting to become like some favorites.
Burrow is playing.
They've got people back from injuries. Burrow is just playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah.
And like we said before, like he's not the obvious best thrower like Mahomes or the obvious best runner like Josh Allen that he'll be playing against. But, I mean, he's just always found a way to get it done.
Yeah.
Ever since he was in college, ever since he's been in the NFL. So this is a tough game to call, man. I could really see it going either way.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals have more momentum right now.
Yeah.
I think the Bills have something to prove with how, they've kind of been, they barely.
They're 12-3, but people still are like, I don't know if the Bills are that good.
So I think the Bengals might take this one, man.
Yeah.
I think Joe Shiesty is going to have a big game. I think it could be a shootout.
Yeah.
I think it could be both teams in the 30s.
I'm with you. I'm going Bengals, but I would have taken, if the Bills are playing at home, I'm taking the Bills. I think whoever the home team in this one's going to win. I think that's the kind of game it's going to be. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a close game. And I think the home team will pull it out.
The Bills are at home, you said?
No, the Bengals are. That's what I'm going
the Bengals.
If the Bills were, I'd go Bills.
I hear you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going Bengals as well.
That even solidifies my pick more, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you know who the favorite in that game is?
That's a good question. It's got to be like close.
I'll tell you what it is right now. Over under 49.5. Bills are favored 1.5 point favorite. So it's as far as lines go, 1.5. I mean, it's literally, it's a 50-50 shot, which is kind of how we're projecting it as well. So I just think Joe Burrow just finds ways to get it done, and I think they're going to win this week, solidify the divisional win, and take it easy next week.
Yeah. So next we got award races real quick. We'll go through these fast. I'll just list out kind of who the top candidates are odds-wise, and then we can kind of go with who our picks are going to be.
Okay, sure.
So MVP, you got Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts, all quarterbacks. We've seen that MVPs are almost always quarterbacks. I am going to go – this is tough. I'm going to go Josh Allen because I think that I think the Bills – I just think that the other guys, first of all, have a lot of weapons. Josh Allen does too, don't get me wrong. Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that Josh Allen, especially if the Bills are to win out, that puts them at 14-3. A great year, most likely atop the NFC or AFC. I'm sorry. So I just think that if you look at it in the complete picture, if the Bills are above the Chiefs, if the Eagles, and then Jalen Hurts, if he doesn't end up coming back until the playoffs,
and it's got a little bit of time missed there,
which always tends to hurt.
Detriment.
Yep, exactly.
Hendon Hooker for the Heisman. If he didn't get hurt, I think it was a no-brainer. But you always, have those injuries.
And then Joe Burrow. So really, you could say who wins this game?
Right.
Bills, Bengals.
Right.
You could go with. I could go with either one of those. So I think it'd be interesting. I'll go Josh Allen.
I'm going on record and saying I think all 4 of these guys are equally deserving. Sometimes in the past, you see like those 1 or 2 guys that are like way ahead of the pack and having like just career years.
Yeah.
I think any of these guys have just played fantastic this year. But as far as the MVP, I'm going to go with Mahomes. I mean, you look at most valuable player, right? The Chiefs' entire identity is around Patrick Mahomes. And a lot of people were saying, like, what's going to happen when he loses Tyreek Hill? Because he's so obviously such a great wide receiver and, like, just way different than any other guys with his speed. And minus Travis Kelce, you look at the wide receiver core for the Chiefs, is not that good.
Juju.
Compared to the other, I mean, these guys have
Marquez Valdez,
A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase. I mean, these are like, top tier guys. And Mahomes just doesn't have those guys on his team. But he's still like, that's why, like, I mean, the Chiefs wide receivers for fantasy, you never really know who's it going to be. It's hard to project. Yeah. But you know that Mahomes is probably going to throw for 303. And for that reason, like, I mean, he just, the way he extends plays and the throws that he makes, like, yeah, it kind of seems obvious. But without the weapons that, some of these other guys have, I think Mahomes is truly the most valuable player to that team.
Yeah.
Like, you sub in a different quarterback for the Chiefs, I don't think they're close to what they are.
Yeah.
Whereas, not to take anything away from those other guys, they're all deserving. But, you could maybe put someone else in Joe Burrow's position and he might be, I mean, the Bengals still might be a pretty good team.
Yeah.
But that's my take on it.
Yeah. Offensive player of the year, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, Mahomes, and Josh Jacobs. I mean, I don't think a non-quarterback is going to win. I think that the NFL has gotten to that where they give it to the quarterback.
The last non-quarterback, it was either MVP or Offensive Player of the Year. It was like 2012.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson, when he had like 2,000.
Yeah.
It was either rush or scrimmage yard. It was a crazy season.
No, yeah.
I think in perspective, which that's 10 years ago.
Yeah. Just based on those 5 with the top odds, I'm going to go Mahomes. I think that, once again,
for the same arguments that I made for MVP.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
I think if Jalen Hurts would have played the rest of the year, he'd have a good argument.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think that, same exact reason.
Because raw offensive firepower,
yeah.
I agree. Jalen Hurts is pretty special with what he can do on the ground, too. My take on this, I don't know who exactly is going to win it. I think it's kind of, a sham that it seems to be a quarterback-only award. I think Justin Jefferson deserves it, man.
No, I agree.
I mean, he is like
I couldn't agree
so
more.
scary to go up against. I hope he wins it.
Yeah.
Now, I think he has like 244 more yards to get to 2,000. He'd be the first player ever. He has 2 weeks. Assuming it's going to come down to those weeks, like he'll probably play full games. He could easily do it. He could do it this week against the Packers.
Yeah.
As a Packers fan, I'd hate to see it, but he could do it.
Yeah.
People make the argument 17 versus 16 games. You average it out. So, like, basically this would be his last week.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he is just special, man. He is just really elevated to, the top wide receiver in the NFL, in my opinion, surpassing Devontae Adams, who was previously there. Just from an all-around perspective, like, you just look, he's a fantastic catcher of the ball, fantastic route runner, super athletic, super clutch, and his touchdown celebrations are top tier, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I really hope – I would really like to see a wide receiver win it, and I think out of any wide receiver in past years, he's extremely deserving of it. But
I agree. Defense player of the year, Nick Bosa, Michael Parsons, Chris Jones, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett. I think that they're going to give it to I believe they're going to give it to Michael Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
But my pick would be Nick Bosa, strictly because I feel like the 49ers did a lot more than people expected. They knew they would be good.
Right.
But now the last 3 weeks.
Especially from the defensive side of things.
They knew they would be good. But last 3 weeks, you've had Brock Purdy as your quarterback, and that defense has given him as much stability as they can.
He stepped into as easy of a role as it gets, really.
Yeah. But, I mean, and I think Nick Bosa leading that defense, as we said, best defense in the league currently. I think that he deserves it. But I think they're going to probably give it to Michael Parsons. But it should be interesting. Maybe they'll surprise us.
Which, statistically speaking, Bosa and Parsons play a pretty similar role.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa has 17.5 sacks on the season. Parsons has 13.
Yeah.
So, statistically, I mean, you look at that and say Nick Bosa should win it. Just watching games, I think my favorite to win it would be Michael Parsons. I agree that he's probably going to get it, and I think he's pretty deserving of it. Not saying any of these other players aren't, but he would be my pick for it. I mean, 13 sacks doesn't really tell the full story. With how many pressures he gets.
I agree.
And, like,
the impact he
the
has
intangibles of how many times teams are setting double teams to him that open up other things
Mm-hmm.
is just, I mean, you can't measure that with stats.
No,
but,
I
I mean,
agree.
you watch the game and it's like every single play, it's like he's the game wrecker.
Yeah.
Like he could blow up the play and get a pick or a fumble 6 or a sack or something crazy. And, you know, he gets hyped up on the commentary a lot. Tony Romo just loves this guy. But, you know, I think Micah Parsons would be my favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, Garrett Wilson, Kenneth Walker, Brock Purdy, Christian Watson, Dameon Pierce. Those are the top 5. And then the odds race. I mean, I feel like you got to go Garrett Wilson.
I think you do too. I think the Jets are going to get a full sweep of this,
Yeah.
of these rookie awards.
I really do think that if Brock Purdy had a wider range of games and he kept playing like he has been, he'd be up there.
Which there always could be the argument that he's just falling into a fantastic system.
Yeah.
And like, what is he doing that's special where you have the other players not in the best situations but still excelling? But I agree.
Yeah.
If he did get, you know, a chance for a few more games, he could be a little bit more in the question. But
yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Garrett Wilson is
I just feel like there's not much
an insane player, and he's had a great year with all these different quarterbacks. That I mean, Zach Wilson, Mike White, Joe Flacco. I mean, these aren't like top tier guys, and he just finds a way to just go crazy.
Which it's kind of crazy to say because after the first 7-8 weeks of the season, it was like Dameon Pierce is winning Rookie of the Year,
right?
Because of how well he's playing. But now that I mean, the Texans are 2-12
and maybe even Kenneth Walker, but with the injury, again,
so I feel like you got to go Garrett Wilson.
And if Christian Watson doesn't drop that first pass of the year, we're maybe be talking about something different. Because I mean, recency bias, he's been going insane. I mean, he had like 7 touchdowns in over 5 or 6 games or something. Like, I mean, he was scoring every week, which is unheard of. But you know, moving on to I agree, Garrett Wilson, and we're just going to go with the jet sweep here, which is, I mean. Right after that draft, people were saying that this is an insane draft class. And I think it's really, you know, a lot of times you get these top picks that just they don't pan out.
Mm-hmm.
But to have all those top draft picks and actually pick guys that are seemingly looking like they're going to be fantastic NFL players and turn your team around. I mean, Sauce Gardner, he's been great all year. I mean, you see these numbers here, numbers there with like yards allowed and stuff. It's hard to tell zone, man. You can't really tell, you know, what's the true statistic. But I mean, if you just watch, he clamps up wide receivers. Yeah. And he's a rookie, man. He's taking on the best wide receivers in the league week in, week out, and he's doing a damn good job.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Which Aiden Hutchinson, Tariq Woolen, the other candidates here, but I think the Jets are going to get a clean sweep of the rookies of the year.
Yeah.
And well deserving.
Yeah. For sure. I agree. Well, that moves us in. That kind of wraps up the NFL.
Which is a football-heavy week for the podcast.
Yeah. We're not – this is not what it was going to be normal.
Right.
But especially once the playoffs and stuff ends, then we're going to be strictly moving on to basketball.
This week and in the next week or two is just extremely, you know, college football. We're in the playoffs, the championship. NFL, we're gearing up for the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, that has a little bit more significance at this point in time. So this episode, maybe the next week or two, are probably going to be a little bit more, you know, football focused, just because it is.
If you want a sports podcast that is strictly even among all sports at all times, then don't listen to us because that's just dumb.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
what's
why?
Important?
Exactly. So that's all we got for the NFL. For hoops wise, we don't have too much going on. We are going to talk a little bit about LeBron, 38th birthday. So kind of what's your initial thoughts after that?
Man, he was moving so fast last night. If you go and watch that game, or you go, because I mean, I didn't have access to watch the game, but you go watch the highlights, dude, he was moving quick.
Yeah.
There was that one that he got pinned on that layup, was like going out of bounds, freaking jumped back in, got the board and won.
Yeah.
I mean, he was moving quick for 38 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's impressive.
We have not seen many athletes that are this old that are still like that dominant. 47 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, almost a triple double, 50 point almost. Like.
And I don't think many people give him the credit he deserves. And like, I'm not a huge LeBron fan. Like, I will admit it, but he deserves a lot of credit.
I've never been, you know, I've always been a Celtics fan. He was always on the Heat, just destroying my hopes and dreams. So, you know, as a competitor, I hated him. Yeah. But, you know, you look later in his career and just looking back now, and he doesn't play for the Heat anymore, whatever. Like, you just got to appreciate the guy. I mean, he is a generational, just like.
And he puts up more than 30 points most nights, which is just ridiculous. I mean, And now with Anthony Davis out, he has to pick up
Right.
an even bigger
Right.
role. And it's just it is, and especially with the Lakers, they're just not very good. But yeah, he did a lot, and I think that he's very impactful, especially on the Lakers. I think that, like I say, he doesn't deserve the credit, and I think that it's getting closer and closer to that GOAT talk that, it's getting close to where he might surpass Jordan.
I mean, if you're sitting here and you're like 40 dang years old because he wants to play with his kid in the NBA, and you're still doing what he does, now, we should have known better. I was looking at his PrizePicks yesterday about to add it, and I was like, 30 and a half? Like, there's just no way, man. Old LeBron James, but I mean, it was his birthday. His mom was there. His wife was there. He just went crazy.
Yeah.
LeCap James does it again.
He
said he knew before the game he was going to go for a lot, which I think he's
he
mocking the whole LeCap memes, which is pretty funny that he's aware of that. But, I don't know, man. It's hard to doubt him.
One last thing on LeBron. He is 527 points away from passing Kareem for most points all time.
Which I think easily going to do this season.
And I think if he does that, I don't think there's any more argument.
I mean, what was Michael Jordan doing when he was 38?
Yeah.
Not this.
Yeah.
His little return to the Wizards was not that great.
Yeah, and I think that, once again, LeBron doesn't have the titles that Jordan has. But I think it's very possible that he gets another one before he retires, especially if he plays as long as he says.
Yeah.
And if he does, and he gets to that point where he has those titles, he has the points record. I mean, there's not.
He's like a machine.
Yeah, there's no other argument.
Yeah.
So
no.
Other than that, almost wore his
Luka
jersey
Magic,
today.
Baby.
Almost wore his jersey
Luka
instead.
Magic.
Luka Doncic is a beast. I think that. He went for 60, 21, and 10 the other night.
Which is the first ever 60-20 triple-double, I believe, and the second ever 60-point triple-double period in NBA history.
Yep, behind James Harden.
And he's just doing this casually.
Yeah, and it was the last play, I think, to send it to overtime when he hit it off the rim on purpose, got the rebound, shot it in the air. Just
like playing taps as a kid.
Yeah.
Jumped, caught it, shot it.
It really is ridiculous. And I still don't understand how he plays so slow, yet it's so smooth.
You ready for this take? Luka Doncic is the Joe Burrow of the NBA. Hear me out, all right? Luka and Joe Burrow, they both don't, Luka's not exceptionally athletic. He's not like there's some guys that you get like Giannis out there who's super big and powerful. He's not like, he can, don't get me wrong, he can shoot, but he's not like Steph Curry level shooting that he pulls from anywhere. He's not like some crazy, slasher of the ball. Like he doesn't do anything. Like if you watch him at an open gym at a rec center, like you'd be like, wow, he's scoring a lot, but you wouldn't be like, oh, he's in the NBA. Yeah. Minus the fact that he's pretty tall. Yeah. And like Joe Burrow's kind of the same way, where it's like he's not Mahomes where he doesn't make those throws. He's not like Josh Allen where he's just like dominating giant size running the ball, but they're the same type of player. Like Luka, he just moves so slow and just like he just puts that big butt into him and just starts backing him down, gives like 18 shimmies, but the fadeaway and he shoots at 30 feet in the air, but he just gets the job done. Yeah. Which like he's not that flashy. Like I said, he's not like LeBron going down the paint dunking. He's not like Giannis. He's not like Curry pulling from half court. Although again, he can shoot. Yeah. He's not the best shooter in the NBA. Yeah. But he finds a way.
Well, on top of that, do you think he's the best player in the NBA?
I think right now he's the best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
I think like somebody like Giannis is the most dominant player, but you want to talk all around, Luka's all around game I think is the best.
Yeah.
And which is how impressive it is, like his athleticism compared to other people, which he's sneaky athletic.
Yeah.
He's not visibly athletic, but he's got all those intangibles like flexibility and footwork and stamina and stuff to be able to put up that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not the obvious visual athleticism, but I think he is. And just his skills, he's really fun to watch.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he's really fun to watch. I think that it depends on how you want to define best player in the NBA. Because if you want to define it where whoever has the most impact, whoever's the most fun to watch, it's different. Whoever is the best overall, it's all different. So, yes.
Here you go. I'll give you this question, Cole. If you were on the playground with everyone in the NBA and you were about to draft your team, and who would you pick first for your squad? Number one pick on the playground.
All right, well, I'm a defensive guy, so I'd probably go Giannis.
Okay, fair enough.
But if it were a point where you told me where I have other guys surrounding me who are defensive players and I need an offensive player, Luka all day.
Gotcha.
And I mean it's just because his defense is a little lackluster at times.
Right.
Sometimes it's fine, but when another thing
he
is he doesn't take a break. He's on the court.
The tools
yeah, exactly.
To be a great defensive player.
And he's a little bit slower, not as athletic, and he's on the court almost the whole game. So he's tired most of the second half anyway.
I mean, he was like sleeping on the bench other night.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you saw that video, but he was like literally on the bench, like.
But I love Luke. He's my favorite player in the league right now. He's been my favorite player even in the Euro League. I watched him, so I think he's really good. And I mean, I would have to say I would probably agree at this current moment. I mean, he just had 60, 20, and 10.
It's hard to argue against that, man.
Yeah. So, lastly, we're gonna wrap it up with some college hoops. We're gonna talk a little bit about the NC State Wolfpack. Before that, though, I want to look at the top 25 for college basketball. Purdue number 1, UConn number 2.
How about UConn, man?
For
their women's basketball, but they're
same with Purdue. I mean, Purdue came out of nowhere. They were good, really good last year, number 1 for a while, but a lot of people didn't give them the credit. Didn't think they'd be as good because they did lose Jaden Ivey and a lot of other good players. So
I'm just gonna check this again. I'm kidding.
So yeah, I think that college hoops are getting interesting. Moving into, we wanted to talk a little bit about NC State just because that's our squad.
That is our squad.
But
we've been going to a lot of games.
Yeah, we have. So, we got big one against Duke next week at PNC Arena.
The last game was the 22nd, right? They get a little bit of time off, I believe.
No, they played yesterday.
Gotcha.
Lost to Clemson yesterday.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, we I don't know. I think that I would say that I don't think Duke's as strong as normal.
No.
But once again, it's ranked Duke, so they're always good. But I will say, if we're gonna go here and make a prediction, NC State will beat Duke and PNC on Tuesday. We always beat Duke and PNC.
Wow.
I mean, dude, we were there together when we beat Duke.
Yeah.
Against Vernon Terry and that squad.
We were there.
I think it's going to be a good game. I think State. I mean, it's NC State. The way NC State is, they play up to who their opponent is. Yeah.
Play up, play down.
And I mean, Clemson is not the greatest opponent, and I mean, we lost by 14. So
right.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I will tell you the good thing that makes it a lot better is Carolina's losing too. So they lost yesterday to Pitt, so that makes it a lot easier.
I agree. And just like any sports anywhere, man, the rivalries are going to be good games.
Yeah.
No matter if we're ranked dead last and Duke's ranked number 1.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good game. And being in PNC, most of the games so far have not had that big of crowds yet. You know, being there, fair enough. It's like Tuesday at 6 p.m., it's a lot to fill up PNC, like 18,000 people. I think this game's going to be packed. It's going to be loud. There's going to be a lot of people. If we can get off to a decent start and we're going to get nice and loud down there, I could see us beating them. I mean, I'm going to be biased and take NC State. I could see either team winning, but I think it'd be pretty crazy to see NC State win this game, and that would be a really big statement win for our team at the beginning of January. But I mean, we have the star power to do it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, our guys can go out there and have a lot of points. It can be we can keep up with them. So
yeah.
You
We also wanted to give a little shout out to the women's team. I mean, they are ranked nationally. They were just
solid.
number 6.
Year in, year out.
Yeah, they lost to Duke yesterday. That was a tough one. Or 2 nights ago, excuse me. But I think that Wes Moore is the second best coach in the in women's hoops behind Gino Auriemma.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that he's going to get them back on track, and I think they're going to be ready in March. So we'll see. We're really young, so it doesn't surprise me that we drop a game like this, especially like you said, against a rival.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see what they end up doing. But yeah, I think that. I mean, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, NC State women's basketball always puts up a good team, and I think we're really going to get tested here. Like you said, it's a young team. We got a couple more, games on the easier side beginning ACC play, but end of January going into February, we got a stretch that's going to be tough, and we're going to find out what they're all about, man. I mean, we play UNC middle of January. Then we go Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, UNC again, Virginia Tech again, all within a span of like 2 weeks here. Yeah. And, that's really going to test them. I look forward to going to those games. Yeah. We are a big supporter. We do pop out to those games.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's exciting to see, man. If we can pull out a bunch of wins there, we could be really highly ranked going into March. And it's going to always be exciting to see an NC State team, at the top of national rankings. So shout out to the women's program.
Yeah. Moving down real quick. Once again, we are not sponsored by PrizePicks, but we do love to use their application.
And the disclaimer, if you or someone that begins to have a gambling addiction, you go on the internet, go look up the phone number for gambling addiction hotline. Get them
1-877-718-5543 gambling hotline.
So there you go. This is all just for fun. Bet what you're willing to lose. But speaking from experience, I am pretty new to it. So is Cole, but it makes it a lot more fun to watch these games. Things that you don't normally have stake in. Some random NFL game on a Sunday, but if you got a little $5 wager going on, it makes it a lot more exciting to watch. Yeah. So for anyone who does choose to participate, we're just going to give you guys a couple locks from the college football games today, NBA games tonight, and stay tuned. We're going to get out some NFL Sunday on Twitter.
On Twitter, yeah. So our Twitter's up there, C2 Sports Pod, Instagram, and then we'll have our video up there.
And you can listen to this on Apple Music,
Spotify,
Amazon Music, and Spotify.
Yeah.
So anywhere where you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, it's on anywhere. So, but yeah, so we'll have our other locks for NFL Sunday on Twitter. Do you want to start? Or you want me to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and give my locks. By the time this gets out, you won't really have a chance to bet on this game, but I think Deuce Vaughn is going to get under 91.5 rushing yards against Alabama. They got a tough run defense. It's nothing like he's seen all year with Kansas State and their strength of schedule. Not too many defensive players are opting out for Alabama. It's something to always look into in these bowl games, especially when it's not the playoffs. They do have a couple people on their offensive line and a couple other key pieces. I think they have like one defensive lineman who's been out there saying he's opting out for this game. So they're going to have a full strength defense. It's going to be a tough run defense. Hell, the game's going on right now. I can tell you if it hit or not, maybe. But and he's missed this line against some other teams, Texas, West Virginia, teams that have a little bit stronger defenses than their average opponent. So I could definitely see him hitting that under. And then for the first game of the college football playoffs, well, I guess this is actually for the night game, Emeka Egbuka, the receiver for Ohio State, his line is 69.5 receiving yards on PrizePicks. I could definitely see that hitting the over there. He's hit the mark 9 out of 12 times this season. A few games ago, he had a little bit of injury concerns, missed that line a few times. When he started out the year, he was like 7 for 7 on this line. JSN is out, their other big receiver, and big players make big plays when it matters. Yeah. And this is a huge game for Ohio State. I think he's going to crush this. He could see 7 to 10 targets, equal that many receptions too, depending on the quality of them. But I could definitely see that. And then for NBA tonight, the Kevin Durant points, rebounds, assists over 41.5. I think he's got a good matchup against the Hornets. Kevin Durant already, just statistically, you look, he hits this line all the time. He's a good player. And then the last thing to consider, when you're looking at NBA bets, especially these, star players, is their load management schedules. The last game was the 28th, so he's had 3 days to rest up. So I think he should see a pretty full minute load tonight. And I think, easily 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists over the Hornets.
Yep.
That would be my 3 locks today.
Going to mine, like we mentioned in that first playoff game, I mentioned it earlier, I am taking TCU. I'm going to under on 210 pass yards for J.J. McCarthy. We've seen Michigan does not throw the ball very well. They love to pound the rock. So it'll be interesting to see, especially against a TCU defense who might not be as strong of a defense. But once again, I'm counting on them. I'm going TCU, play some good D. So
real quick.
Yeah.
Let's edit this out. Now, we'll leave it in. Deuce Vaughn had an 88-yard rushing touchdown to start the game. So he broke free and come to find that out live on air. It's 14-10 right now, almost halftime. But, I mean, he only has 111 yards, so minus that one, he'd be at like 20 yards. He didn't break that free. But Well, that's all right. We can still go 2 for 3.
Next up, night game, college football. C.J. Stroud, quarterback for Ohio State. I got the under on 272 pass yards against Georgia. I think that defense is just too strong. I don't think he's seen anything like that playing in the Big Ten. Great conference, but just not SEC Georgia. So it'll be interesting. And then lastly, my NBA bet for the night. Vika Zubac. I got the over 22.5 points, rebounds, assist. They're playing the Pacers. And down there he'll have what's his name for the Pacers? Gosh, why can't I think of his name? Miles Turner. Yeah, he'll have Miles Turner guarding him most of the game. But we've seen Zubac. He had a huge 20-something point and 20-something rebound game. So it'll be interesting, but I think he's going to definitely hit that over. So that's all we got for the day. Do you have any final thoughts on everything overall?
Not really.
Yeah.
Just,
glad to
be here. Glad to be back. I think we're going to really, now that the holidays season is over, it's just kind of tough with travel and family time and all that good stuff. But, now that we're kind of back to the grind, we'll be back living together in another week or so. I think we're going to shoot for, at the very minimum, a weekly episode. Yeah. I think maybe like Friday release or something like that. So stay tuned. We're still trying to figure out the schedule here, but I think a weekly Friday release is what we're going to shoot for. So it's exciting times, 2023. Finally get this thing off the ground.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. So that's pretty much all we got today. We appreciate everybody who has made it this far listening.
Yeah,
we know it's a lot of time. We know that it's a long episode, so hopefully you're listening to it in a car ride, coming home, or something like that. But yeah, we're glad to be doing it, and we're like we mentioned, follow us on social media. We'll make sure to get
all in the background here.
Yep, we'll make sure to get those picks on Twitter, Instagram. We'll start having some graphics on there. And so, yeah, we're excited to get this thing going. I'm excited to really this is like kind of our official launch day on New Year's Eve.
Yep.
So, Jordan year 2023. Happy New Year's to everybody. Merry Christmas. We'll see y'all soon.
Peace out. Let's go.
Sick, boy.
Dude, we forgot to press record.